Hey, it's Nay, and welcome back to Nay's Little Garden and Home. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about peppers. I start peppers early, but I also do waves of peppers. So I just want to show you a couple of them, talk about them, the pros and cons of doing peppers the way I do them, and then the pros and cons of doing peppers the way you might see other people do them. So grab you a drink, grab you a snack, and we about to jump right into it. These are some of my peppers. Now, they are big. You do not need to grow your peppers to this size to get them to produce, for the most part, right? There's a few reasons why I do it like this. Yeah. Let's get into it. That is my first round of peppers. I started these. Let's see here. How about this one? In February. So that is early. And you probably don't have to start your peppers that early. I am in zone 6. And by the time you watch this, it'll be a few days after my last frost. I am a couple days left before my last frost. I have already planted out a couple tomatoes within my polytunnel. They have been out for a few days. It's fine. I see now on the forecast days after my last frost, my projected last frost, and we're probably not going to get it. The nights are looking around 42 to about 51 degrees. Yes, it's better to put them out about 50 degrees, but tomatoes I find do survive through. And I don't really see, maybe because I start in the polytunnel, I don't really see the insane shock that a lot of people talk about. Maybe because the polytunnel does warm up significantly more during the day than if it was just out in the air, right? However, peppers are very different. I will not be putting my peppers out until about Mother's Day. And then like my biggest of peppers will go out probably about Mother's Day. I might have my husband line inside of the polytunnel with some of the first thing I'll be planted out will be my grow bag peppers. Most of my peppers will be going in grow bags. We discussed this. You can go back a few months in my videos to see what plan I'm going for my garden. So the grow bags are going to be mostly just peppers. I'm going to try to line like 5 or 6 of them, have my husband pull them into the polytunnel. It's going to be hard to walk in, but we're going to figure it out just for about a week or two after that. Because the 42 to 45 range at nighttime for peppers could cause them to actually have some shock, which I will notice them taking longer to grow back to growing. And then doing what they need to do. So these peppers that I showed you first, those are the ones that will go into the grow bags that will slide up into the polytunnel, as many as I can, because there's probably a few, like 3 or 4 more than will be able to go into the polytunnel. So it'll be like the odds are ever in your favor type of thing for the 3 or 4 that have to go outside or have to stay outside the polytunnel. Then I have another flush. There's like basically 2 more flushes. This is like about what another couple of them look like, where they're like about this size. And then I have an in-between that's about this size. So I have about three separate flushes of peppers. And I think this is going to work very well in my favor. Because I do think, I don't know if you saw, there are flowers on some of these peppers. I will, in fact, I have been pulling off flowers off of a good amount of these peppers, and I will continue to do so. But some of them I will, in fact, leave to flower. The things about peppers that, on average, at least that for me personally, is oftentimes they keep putting on peppers. There's a few who didn't continue to do that for me. I kind of got like one big flush, but for the most part, a lot of the peppers that I planted have continued growing bigger and bigger and kept putting on flushes. So I'm not supremely concerned. Also, because I have the different stages of my peppers, I know that once this puts on a flush, even if they slow down for a little bit before they kick back up again, these will start putting on their flush. Do you get it? I think that succession planting is a great thing for most crops, but when it comes to like the tomatoes and peppers, and I'm in zone 6, I have to take a little bit of time and not space them out too far. Otherwise, I might not have enough days to properly get the harvest I want to have. So I say that, but I would say, I'm going to be very real with you. And this is just my opinion, okay? Zone 6 and 7 are the top dogs in my opinion, because I feel like 8 and up, they can get some like very intense heat and or don't really get frost like that. So the bugs that I be hearing that they beef with, I need those bugs to stay over there. Because what? Huh? And then the zones are like 4, 3, 2. I mean, I could even add 5 into that, but like zones, yeah, so maybe zone 5, 6, 7, maybe, or 6, 7, 8, right around the middle zones. I just feel like they, we got that little za versus like the zones 3, 4, 2. They're cold. It's brick. Like they have like 2 months of heat. Like it's very scary to think about. Like, okay, if I wanted, I'm sure they can make it work. Like if they got an actual real greenhouse and they got a heating system, right? Then of course you're extending your grow season. But just growing, I don't know. I have about 140, 150 days, 155 days, something like that. So that's a decent amount of growing time, okay, if I'm going to be completely honest. And we never get like insanely muggy over here. We never get insanely dry. We never get insanely hot, although it could feel really hot to me. But like for other people, they'll be like, girl, this is nice weather. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, anyway, I said all that to say, focus on the peppers right now. The peppers will not be going out until even these big peppers, they're going to have to wait another, let's see, I think it's 10 days. When is Mother's Day? Or the weekend of Mother's Day. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So about 11 days from now is when I'm going to be planting out my peppers. Just the week, like the end of part of Mother's Day, like the closer to Mother's Day, because I just need to make sure we're mostly just getting 50-degree nights and keep it pushing. If I see like a 47, I'm going to count that as 50. I know I'm pushing it. It'll be fine. I planted out stuff earlier. Like I've done a lot of extra stuff. So when it comes to growing peppers, we're going to get to the part where we're actually learning something. When you're starting peppers, I feel like what you do to start the seeds is not necessarily what you want to do to keep the pepper plant alive. So when you want to start the seeds, it's almost like you have to keep the soil a little too wet. Like you look at it and you're like, wow, this soil is quite damp. Because they're not like carrots, but like how you want to keep the soil, you have to keep the soil moist for carrots to germinate. I feel like you get the best germination out of peppers when you keep the soil almost a little too moist, which is why you have like those little humidity domes, or you can just take a look of plastic wrap and put it on there. This way you are gonna get much better germination. You also, and I know some people be like, oh, you don't need it. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you don't keep your house warm, like it feels like you're not even in winter, your peppers are going to take much longer to sprout and your germination rates are going to be lower. You're going to need a heat mat if you don't do what I just said. So heat mats really could take, you could do 1 heat mat. A lot of people, you really only need like a couple peppers, right? Anywhere from like 2 to 15 peppers, right? You know what I mean? So you really could get 1 heat mat and start all those peppers. A heat mat, guys, is just really gonna keep that soil warm, because it might feel decent to you and the soil is brick. The soil is cold. The soil is giving chili. It's giving Jack Frost. It's giving what on earth are you playing with me? Why would I even sprout on this? So you need the soil to be warm and moist. Once the pepper plant starts trying to produce the first set of true leaves, right? So when the seed pops up, you get something called a cotyledon leaves, which is just giving nonsensical. It's giving, I'm just gonna sprout these random leaves just to photosynthesize, and now I'm gonna start, and then you're gonna get the first set of true leaves where they're like, just kidding, now I'm gonna show you I'm a pepper. Those two, when those true leaves start popping up after the ones that just decided to pop up, that's when you gotta calm down with the watering. Root rot or whatever it is that can happen when the roots get too soggy happens very easily, at least for me personally, when it comes to peppers. I've lost a good amount of peppers when I keep trying to water it as much as I did for the seeds, get the seeds germinate. After I had great germination, to mess it up like that is really, really saddening. So water less. I find that pepper plants do better when you water less. And some of them don't even look that fire. Like, let me show you. Some of them do actually look really good. I'm not gonna even try to like take away from me. This, I don't know if you could see the water is dripping on me. I don't know if you could see the leaves up top here. They're a little wrinkled or whatever, and they're not as big as this one. I am gonna fertilize this shortly. We're gonna talk about fertilizer. But regardless, you see how she split off right here and made a two-way street? When you start your peppers early, you can start doing other things that wouldn't make sense otherwise. We're also going to talk about that. But the thing I'm saying is, what? Even if it looks like this, when I plant it outside, she's 9 times out of 10 going to thrive crazy. Crazy. And you have to take it off the heat mat after they sprout. Like I want to say within 3 or 4 days of it sprouting. Otherwise, they're going to get leggy. Otherwise, it might also die off. It's just, peppers are a little diva, which is okay. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So let's talk about fertilizer. I fertilize a lot. I know that there are people out here who will sit here and tell you, girl, I fertilize 1 time in the year and that's it. And I believe them that works for them. I started gardening about 4 years ago, but only 3 years, I've been gardening for about 4 years, But 3 years ago is when I started gardening in the ground that I own on my property. And the thing about growing is it takes a lot of soil to do raised beds and grow bags and stuff like that. And so you can't necessarily get the cream of the crop to fill up all of those raised beds unless you got thousands and thousands of dollars just max relaxing, right? So you're going to mix different soils, and Costa Maine is my favorite soil because for me personally, when it comes to quality and price, they are the best priced while giving you pretty good quality soil. So yeah, and a decent size of the bags as well. So while I'm still trying to build up and just create a whole ecosystem, I want some worms, I want all the bugs, all the good bugs, but not too many of them. You know, when you have too many ants, you want to have the bugs in your soil at a healthy amount. That does take time. It also takes time realizing what the soil needs and whether or not you decide, to make some things for yourself. I'm just not there yet. I don't want to overwhelm myself, but things like compost/manure is a process I'm not ready for. And you may not be ready for a few years coming. That doesn't mean you can't grow a garden, right? So then you have to buy those type of things. Before you can even get your plant outside, you are going to, I think, want to do a little fertilizing. Now, when you fertilize your seedlings, right, because they're not actual like plants, they're like babies. You know what I mean? You want to give them a little, because a lot of the soil that you're going to use to start gardening inside when you want to be mindful of bugs is going to be more sterilized soil, so there's not going to be lots of nutrients. So the seed has enough energy to pop up out by itself and possibly create the first set of true leaves. After that, you want to start fertilizing. And when you use a fertilizer, you also want to go ahead and make sure to dilute it to excessive amounts. Now, going into a big box store, get you, a little organic fertilizer. If it says it needs 3 tablespoons into a gallon of water for regular plants, I'm going to need you to do like 1 tablespoon for the seedlings, because you don't want to mess around and burn these seedlings so they're getting too much. You get me? Something like this does actually just give me, this is at my gardener's one, it gives you the actual amount you want to use. So for this, it'll tell you for transplants, for stress and sick, for preventative application, for hydroponic systems, and for seedlings. So seedlings/cuttings only needs 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. Now, if you're sitting there like girly pop, there's no way I can give these plants a gallon of water and I have 1 10-20 tray. I have let that sit, because in the initial starting, I've let it sit for a week and then go and watered it again. Or because this is 2 tablespoons, you could do a half a gallon and 1 tablespoon, and then you get what I'm saying. I think that something like a liquid fertilizer is the best when it comes to small plants, like your seedlings. However, I have used solid fertilizer when making my soil, right, and added it in, because it does help it, I feel like, in the long term. So if you're gonna have seedlings in your home for about 2 to 3 months, you are in fact going to need to be mindful of fertilizer. Now, let's talk about something that is very controversial in the gardening space, I feel like, and that is topping your pepper plants. Some people will tell you that is the best thing you could ever do to gain more peppers. Other people will tell you it's completely useless and actually will hinder you. Both are true. I know, what a concept. No, I was kidding. Both are true because it really depends on your zone. It really depends on the days of warm weather you actually have. And I'm not saying like, 40 degree. I'm saying like 60 degree weather plus. How many days of that type of weather and your nights not dropping below 50 do you actually have? And how early are you willing to start your pepper plants and really take care of them as they reach the teenage stage of life? If you do not want to mess around with teenage plants, you are not going to be able to start them that early, and then I would not suggest you top them. If you have plants like I have, where these are teenagers, okay? That's why they're sassing me sometimes. I gotta shift them over because they be knocking over other plants next to them. You are gonna need, I think it'd be in your benefit at that point to top those plants, because it's just gonna force it to branch out faster. Will a pepper plant branch out without you topping them? Most definitely. If you have 100 days of growing season and your peppers take 75 to 80 days, okay, after the 6 to 7 weeks of growing inside, right, I'm going to suggest, me personally, if you have the space in your home, to start them a bit earlier. And then after you top them, it creates, I showed you, that random branch sticking out faster. So when you put it out in the garden, I did this with like the Zabrange and the Lesia and the Tangerine Dream, and they had yielded me insane amounts of peppers last year. I didn't have enough plants, but the plants that I did have yielded insane, which is why I'm so excited for this year, because I have about double those pepper plants, and I don't foresee anybody causing any problems, like breaking stuff and knocking things over this coming year. So I should actually yield a lot of peppers this year. Another thing that is very important, pepper plants, as you saw some of them leaning a little bit, they like to lean with it, rock with it sometimes. They need some type of structure to keep them upright. As the peppers grow on it, you don't want the weight of the peppers to give you problems. Tomato cages, as well as, first of all, before we even get to tomato cages, the stick, get you some bamboo sticks, some little tree sticks. Go in at a forest or grab up off your tree or the floor sticks. longer sticks. You want to put that in the ground right next to the pepper plant and get some type of liquid tie, right, to attach it to the stick. That will be their first assistance. Then you want to get like some type of tomato, a tomato cage is going to be great. You can get a bunch of the plastic, cheaper tomato cages that work. I used them last year. They do work really well for peppers. Put it over there before your pepper plant starts bushing out too insane, so that you are really helping your pepper plants, because it will not be able to, like a good amount of times out of 10, survive having a boatload of peppers on it. And you want a boatload of peppers, and so you want to make sure that it has some structure holding it up, okay? So when it comes to harvesting peppers, you want to harvest peppers the way you want to eat them. So if you're harvesting a sweet pepper green, then that's fine, harvest it green. But let it get to as big as it possibly can before you harvest it. If you're looking at anything outside of a green pepper, you need to let it fully ripen on the pepper plant. This is not like with tomatoes. It's like a little different. So you want to let it completely, ripen to the red and then harvest it. The longer you let it ripen, the sweeter it's going to taste. You also still need to continue fertilizing for the most part. Unless you have magnificent soil, you are going to want to you're going to want to fertilize, even when it's in the ground. I've seen other people actually do it. Take the solid fertilizer, like after you push out the hole, drop it into the hole, put the plant in, put in the dirt, water it in, and then it's gonna help feed it as well. That will break down, the solid fertilizer will break down slower over time, and over time keep feeding it, versus the liquid fertilizer that you will do. And I can't tell you exactly how many times you want to liquid fertilize your plants. I'm gonna be very real with you. I do it every other week in like July or August. In my summer, every other week, and my plants are getting a little fertilizer for sure. For sure. Yeah, because I think that it really does help the plants. My plants went insane last year, and I fertilized more than I ever did in my life last year. So do with that what you will. I think that's all I really want to say on peppers. I say that as I'm like inching towards 30 minutes, but peppers is something that I just feel like a lot of people use in a lot of different things. And so trial and error the peppers, but I feel like these steps could really help you maximize your harvests. Anyway, let's talk down in the comment section about growing peppers. What are some pepper varieties that you like, whether sweet or spicy? This is basically just like a little section I'm doing about gardening, like just all finer details in each video to try to help people who are new or newer to gardening who want to have success. Biggest tip, start small. Okay, before you overwhelm yourself. Even if it's just 2 pepper plants, you're still going to yield you some good amount of peppers, all right? So let's talk in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you can see more of my videos, and hopefully I see you in my next one. Bye-bye.